Hey, WokeNFree Nation, Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice.
For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening.
You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, science to Bitcoin, or even one of your favorite celebrities. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud.
And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. Our podcast, WokeNFree, is there too.
Now let's get into the episode. Hi, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 267th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week, we're asking the question, should parents censor the content their kids consume? Before we dive deep into the subject, a couple of things to cover. First, have you gone to WokeNFree.com not only to listen to this episode, but to download it through the Podbean app? If not, please do so immediately. If you have the app and you download the episode, then you're able to put in your comments and you could share with us. If you're a parent, what is your philosophy around censoring the content that your kids are watching? If you are anti-censorship, how has that been working for you in your household? We want to hear it all. So make sure you do that. Now, if you listen to podcasts on a device where you can't download another app like the Podbean app, the ways that you can support WokeNFree is by going to WokeNFree.com, going onto the Listen tab, and then picking your platform of choice where you'll not only follow and subscribe to the show, obviously you can listen at it. So we're on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora. It's a WokeNFree world. So lots of different places to catch the show at if you can't do it through the Podbean app. On WokeNFree.com, you can also click to subscribe to follow the show through the Podbean app. And then on social media, you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at WokeNFree. And then lastly, we would love to hear your review of the show. How is this feeding into your life? How long have you been with us? All of that good stuff. Go to WokeNFree.com, go in the Listen tab, and then pick your platform of choice where you want to review the show at. So, kicking it to you now, Khalil.
And then before we start the conversation, we should share a little bit about ourselves. This week we're asking, would you rather fight off an anaconda or a crocodile?
More pointless information. Interesting. So, I guess I would say I would rather... it's a really tough choice because both are nightmares. However, I guess I would choose the nightmare of the crocodile because anacondas, I know the movie with J-Lo was fake, but I think it traumatized me into thinking that, that's how all anacondas would be. And the idea that they could, swallow a whole person, if that's true or not, remains to be seen. I'd have to do more research. But nonetheless, it just seems like anacondas are super scary, and I feel like I would have a better chance with a crocodile. How about you?
See, this question gave great insight into who we are as beings and what we believe should be feared and what should not be feared.
Beings. Nice.
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there because you should realize that.
The earth.
Yeah. It makes people understand what existence
is. Of this universe,
yeah. It just gives you an idea that certain questions can start off a whole different thing that you didn't expect.
Answer the question.
I'm just trying to show you how this question is not as pointless as you were first once believed.
Agree to disagree. Answer the question.
Oh, so you still think this was a pointless question?
Pointless. Answer the question.
It was revealed, though, that these are two scary creatures for you.
For me.
Okay.
I don't know why that would be meaningful to anyone else.
For them to know that about you? To know that you fear both of them?
All?
Well, there you go. WokeNFree reveal. It's all out there now.
Listen to the show and definitely know that I live with fear of certain creatures like insects, like certain animals. I think they're magnificent. I think a crocodile is incredible. Do I want to ever be near one? Absolutely not. Same with an anaconda.
Yeah,
incredible.
Some people may have
anywhere near.
Some people may have thought you'd want to get close to them and try to pet them or something.
Some people think I'm mad.
They might think that that's one of your things, but now they know for sure that's not something you ever would do. So that's good to know.
Fun.
It's
Answer
a good
the
tidbit.
question.
Now, for me, I'm going to have to go opposite. I would have to fight the anaconda because I think it's slower. I might be wrong, but I'm just taking a guess that snakes usually are not that fast, and them crocodiles, I know they can get going pretty quick.
True.
I forgot how fast.
They do pick up speed on land, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they're faster than humans, but they can move. I think they can move. A lot
of things are faster than humans.
Well, some are slower, though. But yeah, the croc might be faster, though. But I don't think it's that much faster, even if it is. But either way, the anaconda,
and it would depend on
they're so big, they can't move that fast.
A croc in water or land, like you have a greater chance to survive on land, probably.
Yeah, this wasn't so specific, but if you have to fight the crocodile in water, then I would choose the anaconda. Yeah, because you have no chance. And then it can move really fast while it's in the water. And the thing is, if it was in the water, I would want to censor that crocodile because I don't want it to come after me.
That's sloppy and sad.
Yeah, it is. It's the only thing I can really think of.
It's a sloppy.
Like, wouldn't you censor the crocodile fighting a human? It just seems kind of.
What?
Would you not? So if there was content of a crocodile,
you're censoring crocodiles?
The crocodile fighting the human. Because just think about it, that could be violent.
Coming out with a digital crocodile.
Oh, that's really going to be fun.
Lyle or something weird.
Lyle the crocodile.
Yeah, it's something.
I don't know what it is.
Odd.
That just sounds good to me. That just sounds like a good title to me. Lyle the crocodile. Maybe your next
song that you make.
Not a song; it's a movie. It has to be a whole script written out, and there has to be actors in it, and there's got to be.
I'm completely terrified at this point now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's gotta. But that's why it said. I mean, maybe that movie has to be censored. And we've got to ask the question, though. Should parents censor the content their kids consume?
Foolish.
It's all about censorship, isn't it?
So, I would say, objectively, I think the answer to this is yes. Subjectively, I would say maybe. But if you're going to go through an objective assessment of is censorship appropriate with children? Yes, but I do think there's certain parameters that have to be in place. So first and foremost, if you are a person, an adult with a child that has certain moral beliefs or principles or practices that you exercise in your home, and you are indoctrinating and or raising your children under those proposed beliefs, then yes, censorship of content is probably going to be in alignment to support such beliefs and practices. Not that I'm saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying that the likelihood of that happening is very high. Now, if you believe that your children could be exposed to content that you disagree with outside of a religious perspective, but more so just an ideological perspective, maybe you don't want your children seeing certain behaviors, certain cultural moments or societal changes and
what about just violence and cursing?
Correct. Things like those types of behaviors or practices, then absolutely, then that would be another reason why you would censor the content. Also, I would say you can't forget the conversation of technological capabilities. So the idea of censorship is cool, but you actually have to be able to, if you want to, for your children, but how are you executing on that? So, do you have the technological capabilities to censor the content for your children? Do you have the parent guards and whatever they have set up on different streaming platforms or TV show, whatever, that you have to be able to look into and actually execute on that? And if you can't, then the censorship wouldn't happen. And then lastly, I think if you believe limiting the content is in alignment with how you want your child to grow up, and you feel honestly that this is going to help your child have a better life, a better way of being, a better childhood, then yes. But see, I think there's all those different factors. Ultimately, like I said, that's an objective assessment. Subjectively, I'm for it, but to some degree, I'm also a fan of consuming certain content, and I wouldn't want to reduce that content just because my child happened to be near me. So I'm still there's
ways around that. That's something,
a way to deal with that. Yeah.
That's something different. That's an answer to a different question, because we're just we're just looking at the point of view of the kid and can the child watch. So I happen to agree with you, but I agree more wholeheartedly. So I think that mainstream media, I don't think they should decide the morality for your child. I think parents, they got to do that. They need to step up to the plate and see what their children are watching.
Spell that out for what do you mean by like mainstream media?
So I mean, so Hollywood, they write their films a certain way. And just like any other, I guess, like film industry.
Certain storylines, you mean, and things like that?
Yeah, like the movies that they put out, the movies that become these blockbusters, shows to any of the kind of content that they put out. It's not just like based off of like little random kind of thought. It's based off of kind of like group thought of this is like what's supposed to be right. This is how you should feel when you watch this. When you see this action on screen, like it's kind of like what do they call those? I mean, I don't want to call it a subliminal message, but they reinforce like kind of like, I guess, society norms in a lot of these films. Not all of them to say that, but you have to act. That's why I think it's a parent's job to know more about the film and see like
the content.
Yeah, and they decide, hey, maybe I'm not going to show this because I don't think that's morally okay. Even like, let's say you're a parent that doesn't agree with war, and then there's this war movie. Do you let your child see that? I mean, that's like along those kind of lines. If you're not okay with that, then you should be able to do that. I think parents I don't think there's any.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they have to ask any questions. I think they can just decide, like, I want to do it. And if they really want to learn how to do it, they can research that. They can't. There's no like real excuse. I don't think they should just give up and say, I can't do it. Because it's too much to figure out.
Make the effort to figure out how to do it.
And I think it's important to do because not everybody has their opinions, and that doesn't necessarily mean their opinions are right or that's the thing that you should go with. So I think that parents should do it. I mean, you could just decide not to and let them see anything they want, but when your child grows up, don't be upset when some action happens or they have some sort of thought and you're like, how did they get that in their head? You can't ask any questions about that because that was you who just let them do anything they want. I feel like it's letting your child go rampant.
You don't have 100%, determination of what your child thinks or believes or gets exposed to. You put your child also in other circumstances where they have influences from other people.
Well, yeah, other kids can show them stuff too, right?
Other kids or other adults as well. So,
other people.
I think sometimes people are overly hard on parents in that, like, it is not like you have 100% autonomy over your child. Yeah,
but I'm talking about, but it's kind of like if you're there and you just want to put on these bloody movies while they're home with you watching you, that's going to normalize it for them compared to when it's like, ooh, they don't know I'm going to go watch this movie. It's that's a different kind of feeling or memory that's going to come about from seeing the film compared to if the parent is showing it to them and this is just what we do on a Saturday afternoon. We watch these like flicks where people get killed and stuff and maimed. I mean, if you're doing that normally with your child, that is going to have an effect. That's what I say. I don't think it's just nothing. Yeah. I'm not saying that the media shouldn't exist though, because I know some people ban it. Like, I'm not for that, but I'm for parents being able to, like, parents can ban stuff. It's such an interesting conversation. I just don't want the government to ban it. Like, that's what I'm fully against. I don't want the government to restrict any of our media.
No, I'm for
I hate when they try to step in.
Creative expressionism. Yeah. Like, you have to be able to create the content. And there is value to slasher films. There's value to romance films. There's value to war films. There's value and space for each type of genre. The question is, like, what should children have access to, right? And then what is the parent's responsibility in making sure that they put boundaries in place that are age appropriate and also the thing that gets weird, or not weird, but a consideration with censorship is not every child is the same, right? So there's some 7-year-olds who could necessarily have the emotional and intellectual intelligence and ability to watch a film that is maybe for 12-year-olds and up, and they're not going to be negatively impacted by it. Versus some children at that age, it would really be a shocker. They couldn't sleep for 3 weeks. So, that's where it gets really, like, in this gray space, and it's not as black and white as I would love it to be, because every child is different, and also some children just might not even want it, like, as much as I'd want to be like, ooh, watch a slasher film. Some children might not be into it. So,
that's every child is different, definitely. What are the best practices for censoring your kids' content consumption?
I saw on BostonParentsPaper.com that there was kind of a nifty little list of things that one should consider if you are trying to censor your child's content consumption. So first, keeping screens out of your children's bedrooms. I thought that was really helpful because then you definitely can limit their screen time, and also like what are they watching when you're not paying attention and when you're not present. So I thought that was helpful. Second, set limits based on what works for your family. So as a family, be very intentional around how much screen time should be happening for your child. Should children be spending 16 hours a day watching the screen, or is it more like 2 to 5 hours? Right? What is necessary based on your family and your practices you want to adhere to? Also, try to plan your family's media diet in advance. So what are you going to be consuming on during the dinner, maybe time, or on Saturdays? I thought that made sense. Choose content that promotes positive development and learning. Do your best to avoid violent and otherwise inappropriate content.
Wow.
Yep. So they spoke to what you were talking about. Take the time to use screens together. So normalize the idea that you can use technology together in a meaningful and hopefully educational manner. Have conversations about media regarding what's real and what isn't, the difference between ads and the shows, and solving conflicts without violence.
See, that point's good.
That's
because
super cool.
I heard something recently that parents that do exactly what that point said is that the child's actually develop critical thinking skills.
Oh,
based like better critical thinking skills than children that don't. So if like parents like watch media with their kids and then explain it afterwards, it's actually a good thing. It's not like, oh, TV's bad, because all the time we used to hear that, like, all TV, bad TV. The kids shouldn't. But it's not necessarily not necessarily true. You can actually develop, you can actually develop them better
thinking skills
from it. Yeah, so it actually has a positive effect.
Awesome. All right. Buying toys that let your children be creative and can be played with in many different ways. So that's about versatility, and it's not always about here's a tablet, but like look at other types of toys and technological opportunities for your child to be engaged and curious, and
so that they'll be interested to play with a physical toy and not always reach
not
for the screen,
for the phone or tablet or
don't reach for the screen.
Yeah, exactly. And then also they mentioned talk with the people in your children's lives and community about these issues, share effective strategies, and team up to promote awareness and changes where that are needed. And
so become an activist then?
Well, more so about the fact that, like, if your child, say, goes and spends time at your sister's house or something like that, right? Then shouldn't your sister be aware of the type of technological practices and philosophy that you're trying to raise your child under? So kind of like in your household, if you never say you have a 5-year-old and you don't want them watching slasher movies or war movies, and they go to your sister's house and that's what your sister wants to have on, then that's a conflict, right? And so that's why I think that's that point, speaking to the fact that, like, everyone who's going to be in your child's network and your child's going to be exposed to, needs to be aware of what you're practicing in your household and what you also would like to happen in their household if your child happens to spend time there.
Okay.
Which, again, do you have control over what people will do? No. So
they could lie to you too.
Yeah.
And they could say, I followed everything.
And they don't.
Yeah. So that's,
So it's a nice effort, but, I think not necessarily controllable there.
Okay. I thought about just a couple things that parents can do too. I mean, these are kind of direct things to do. So the first thing is they can put in parental blocks on their router. So that'll control what kind of websites get through, and
that's important.
It'll filter that out. The next thing is they should put like blocks on their children's phones. So that can block apps that they can download, how much money they can spend.
Sounds like a different country that's coming to mind.
Oh, really? This is how you effectuate censorship.
Fun.
That's the best way to put it.
Oy vey.
And then this one you should be really fine with, though, is that you should research or watch the content first before showing it to your child.
Every show that's out there?
Yeah, research it or watch it. So it's kind of like if a new movie comes out, you can research it too. People will tell you what there's.
Because parents have a plethora of time, and so very.
You can have it read to you. So while you're taking, you're taking your time freshening up.
I know what you were about to say.
Yeah, it would have gone so well, but
I know.
I don't know.
I know.
While you're freshening up in the powder room, then you can definitely
take your 15 minutes to do your due diligence.
Yeah, you can listen to. You can actually you can go to a website, you can highlight it, and then you can ask the good old G to read it to you, and it'll read you. Well, I guess you gotta have the right phone.
To God, you know. Feel like, let me get the spiritual download on this.
No, it's not gonna. It's gonna be read to you out loud.
Please let me know and give me a sign if this is a program that works.
Yes.
I'll be waiting a long time before you get an answer there.
If I was religious, then maybe I would say you could pray on it too. But
I absolutely believe you should pray on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that.
It might be also helpful to read some reviews.
Yeah,
and get some earthly commentary around it.
But because you're trying to say people don't have time to read stuff, so it can be read to them, is what I'm saying.
Listen, I'm not advocating people don't read. I have a book club. I advocate for people to read. What I do know is every time I say that, people want to usually throw books at me.
But yeah, because you're telling them to read books, though. People like reading just these quick excerpts and articles. They're okay with that, but people are,
everyone's like,
I don't, not everybody wants to cozy up to a book where you open the cover and you got to see the foreword and author notes and
God forbid we actually
all this stuff.
Expand our brains.
Hey, you can learn stuff from articles, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the thing.
Okay. Are there any long-term concerns with parents censoring their kids' content consumption?
Yeah, definitely. I think we talked about it earlier, but we know that these kids can find their ways around the parent censorship. So as a parent, you got to know how to deal with that, and I guess in terms of the question, you got to be ready to talk about what they consumed, because over long periods of time, they could pick up stuff and it's like maybe they don't really understand what's going on with the content that they're watching. So I think you just got to be willing to talk about why they're watching this type of content, and kids at their at their activities or at their school are watching other things. You're gonna have to talk to them basically about why you're censoring stuff. So be ready for that. Another thing is that I guess just you could tell. I mean, I don't know though. This might be wrong, but you could tell them why that content is out there. The content that you're censoring. You could say, hey, adults watch it. Or I guess beliefs. That would be a way to put it.
Unless you are the show producer.
So that's all you need to be. As long as you produce it, you could say why that exists.
No. What I'm saying again, it speaks to an upcoming episode we'll talk about. But you have to be careful around just outrightly saying why someone else is doing. You're not in their head, right? So this is.
But it's funny too. It's a good point. I mean, I guess it's offshoot, but people do that all the time. In interviews, they'll say, "So why did this person do that?" And they'll ask them that. It's they could say anything they want. Yes, they don't know why they did it.
Really
it's just pretty funny.
Someone did X or Y.
They could say they were abducted by aliens.
Correct.
They can make anything up they want. They don't know. They're not in their head. That question's asked a lot, so I just think it's normalized. I don't know if it's in every country, but at least in the U.S.,
it's very odd.
In a lot of interviews, they'll ask.
Really honestly speak to why someone did something else. You can't. You're not in their mind.
But I'm not sure. I guess, and they just usually do that just if you're close with somebody or you work for them or something. You're in the vicinity of them, but it doesn't. Yeah, you don't really know.
You are not in their
mind. So you're pontificating, right?
Correct.
We don't know why they did it. So that's what I was trying to get across. This is just what the parent thinks. It's not necessarily the truth.
Correct.
So, and then you got to make that crystal clear too, that it's a belief.
Is what I believe.
Yeah, because don't try to
it's not
lay it on like a fact, because then they'll think that and they'll.
And that is a good point. Being clear with children around what are facts versus what are beliefs. Both equally deeply important. Yeah, two different trains of thought.
But that gets tricky when it comes to certain beliefs for people too.
Religious beliefs.
They believe that is just lifestyle. Some people believe that belief is basically facts, right? Yeah. So the last thing that parents need to do is, a concern that parents should have is, what if they're censoring the wrong things? Is the thing. Maybe it was okay for your kids to see a movie that showed two suns in the sky. That might not have been an issue. it might not
Are you
be
thinking
real.
about Dune or something? What are you talking about? What are you referring to?
I'm just saying, like in a sci-fi thing, they show stuff and parents might see that and they say, no, my creator never would have put 2 suns on a planet that's populated.
No, you did not say my creator.
I'm just saying,
You're
this could
really
be a thought.
wild and living your truth in.
It could be a thought. Because some people might see certain science things as like, no.
Because recently I saw that there is I believe a mom in Texas that's going around saying that parents should not let their children watch the new Hocus Pocus 2 because it will unleash hell in their household. All right. I'll find the link so I can include it in the episode. It's quite an interesting.
That seems like a double meaning kind of thing there.
Statement.
Like the children are just going to tear up, or is it?
So what they're saying is in the movie as we watched it, but we would have to watch it again to try to maybe see this.
Let's hear this.
So the language,
and you're not going to do a spoiler right now.
No, I'm not. But there's going to be spells that are said in the film, similar to what was the spells that were shared in the first Hocus Pocus, and those spells can have effect on the children in the household. So I guess this is from the perspective of someone who does not believe in the practice of Wicca or witchcraft,
but they believe that it's real, though.
It is real, and it can actually come into your home by consuming it through the TV or tablet, however you're consuming the content.
I mean, it's kind of what that shows is whoever believes that they believe in the witchcraft.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first step. So first step, they believe in witchcraft.
Which is a whole other conversation.
And they believe it could transcend through digital media.
Yeah, so that if you consume it that way,
two specific beliefs there.
Coming into your house. Yeah.
And then
similar
third belief is...
If folks have remember the movie, what was that one where the girl came out of the TV? What was that called?
Poltergeist?
No. Remember, she's like...
Not The Grudge.
No, The Ring, that's what it was called, The Ring.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I said the wrong one.
You would watch the film, in the film, they would watch the video, that 2-minute video, and then your whole life
so you gotta have a lot of
messed up unless you got someone else to watch that video and then you didn't die, right? And so the idea that content we consume, it can actually cause havoc and destruction in your life.
Yeah, so that's...
It's interesting. It's very interesting.
So you believe in supernatural effects as
Correct.
well. That's kind of interesting
It's a different world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different... I can't
that just reveals...
either way because I'd have to do some research.
So that kind of thing reveals a lot about that parent.
I know. So I disagree with that outrightly. I mean, we watched it. KJ could have cared less about Hocus Pocus 2.
But I would say a child of any age...
I believe that it would create a situation of havoc in our home by watching witchcraft. No, personally, but... No,
I would think me, a child of any age could watch that, because
I didn't feel it was inappropriate or
anything could be explained there too. There wasn't anything that couldn't be talked about, and there was nothing that was the question insane.
Of content with witchcraft. Where do you stand on that? If you hear a spell, does it have an effect on you? Even if the spell is not directed towards you, it's an interesting kind of...
That's only interesting for people who go the belief routes. Yes. It's not interesting for people based in the facts.
Here you go.
Because you're just saying, come on.
Validating
what's worse though is if they were actually literally saying, go do stuff to your parents. If they said that, then I would say, all right, I see why you want to censor it.
Those old weren't there artists that would do so you would play the record on the record player, right? But then if you played it the backwards way or something, it would be subliminal messages that were being sent.
Yeah, but then it's not proven that it actually had any real effect.
But what I'm saying is it's not something to always just laugh at. It could, I don't know if the science hilarious. Is there.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Speak to. Can content actually create a scenario where you are going to go and hurt someone or do something?
I hate that.
I don't know where the science
I don't like that rhetoric because that's what leads to mass censorship too. That's what they try to use. They tell you, this content, you listen to too much heavy metal and you become a violent person. See,
and
it's stuff like that.
Does not support that.
Yeah, none of that's supported.
But does science support? If I watch a bunch of movies with spells. Do I? I mean, I don't. Again, I'm trying to open my mind to it.
If you watch a bunch of movie with frogs, do you become a frog? I mean, it's like that.
Why
You can ask
don't
lots of
we
questions.
hope?
There's so many questions that could be asked in life.
There is a new Tiana movie.
Oh, okay.
Coming out.
Because that's the problem. Science is not going to address. There's an infinite amount of questions you could ask that some is not going to be addressed. Because it's just. Are you kidding me?
We can hope for the next lifetime to see if that gets.
Yeah, we'll see. It could be important to some people.
So I believe, just to go back on the yellow brick road we were on,
the road not so traveled.
Correct. That the long-term concerns that can arise with censorship with your children's content consumption. First, are you making your children somewhat naive to this world? Because I get that there's content that's not child appropriate, but at what point is it that, like, if you stick to the guidelines, the media guidelines, if this is 13 plus and and R-rated and whatever, is it preparing them for the world that they're living? Because just because you don't want them to learn about sex at 6 doesn't mean sex isn't happening in the world. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that someone might not be wildly inappropriate with your child or try to touch them in their private parts and all sorts of really horrible things that happen in the world. So I find it's challenging for me because I get that you want to preserve the childhood of your child, and you also don't want your child to feel fear or to live in a way where it's more traumatic than it needs to be. But then I also don't want them to be more naive, right? I need them to I want children to understand what their private parts are. Do we call it a wee-wee, or do you actually call it by its proper name? And do you know what is proper touching and what isn't? Because some of these movies, yeah. So it's such an interesting debate. But
I think that you brought up a key thing that we didn't bring up. You don't want to traumatize your child, right? That's true. So you don't want to introduce something that's so advanced for them that it's too much. It rocks their world. Yeah, they're like, what? What is that? And then you're like, oh, I have to explain
I that one up. Yeah,
I have to do that.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's something there. Also, creating so I remember, when I was growing up, that sugar was the devil's best friend. It was just something you should not crave. It was not something that you should want.
That you should not crave, but that's a human thing.
Exactly. And so I just remember constantly wanting sugar all the time. I wasn't allowed to necessarily participate in Halloween, and all I wanted was the candy, and all I wanted were sweet treats. And so I just wonder that once the child is of age to understand that they're being censored, is it going to create an urge for them to want to say, well, I can't see this, so they're going to find a way to unblock it, like some of the tactical tips that you shared early in the episode? Because I can envision that with KJ. He's a genius. So, the idea of, blocking him and then him finding that way to unblock
There's always a way around.
If there's if that creates a sense of urgency within the child themselves to be like, you're not going to catch me. I'm smarter than you. So there's that concern, I feel. And then also we talked about this as well. There's a really cool opportunity for meaningful dialogue between your child and you in talking about the uncomfortable and talking about sexuality and different sexual orientations and preferences. And I get it. There's certain times and places you should have those conversations. A 2-year-old might not be in a position to be able to talk about sexual orientation as maybe a 10-year-old. But there's somewhere in between where that might be appropriate. So it's just understanding your child and understanding ways that, like you said, that you don't meet that threshold of trauma. But you still need them to be able to understand the world that they're living in, even through their lens. I really want children to be aware, because the problem is they're so innocent, and adults prey on that and take advantage of children every single day. And I just wonder if censorship is a part of is it helping or hurting their existence and their ability to protect themselves? I wonder.
We talked about it, but it's like a balance. So that's what it comes down to. You don't censor everything, then that's going to hurt them. It will have some bad effects, but
it's not an easy line to draw, though.
You don't just say the world is your oyster and just go and do everything you want to do, because children aren't ready for that. They're not ready.
Okay.
Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Legrand uses a website that lets you choose the type of content shown in the movie. This allows him to eliminate cursing and gross jokes before showing the films to his kid. Do you think this is the best way to consume content, or should he just not watch the film instead?
Gross jokes, nice one. So Oh, man. And what age are the children?
Oh, I mean...
Less than 10, less than 15, whatever you at. Less than 5?
They're like 8.
Oh, 8. Okay. In America.
8 through,
America,
8 through
right?
12, yeah.
8 through 12. In America?
Yeah, this is all... Yeah, we got to do it. We can't do it from other standpoints because some countries are big on censorship, so it's like, of course.
Okay, so I would say say this person's name?
Legrand?
Legrand seems to be doing kind of the best of both worlds in that at least the children are being able to pay attention to what's happening in their world. Because, also other children talk about new movies they're talking about. And if you're out here just like, I don't know what's going on, that could create a situation of bullying or being like taunted or teased. And so, I would say at least being able to consume the content in some way or manner is meaningful. However, they probably will find out if they talk about this content with other children their age that they missed out on, like, what do you mean about this scene? Because they're going to watch it and they're not going to see it.
That never happened in the film. Wait, what?
You're talking about,
You missed that? That was critical.
So a part of me is like, good for the parent for trying, but then a part of me is also like, this is going to be an utter failure. The minute that they step outside their home and they talk about this,
but they may not even step outside their home. They might see a review
on YouTube,
or see something in a feed or somewhere. I mean,
Oh man, I mean, I would say good try, but I don't think it's fail. Like, I think there's going to be some failure points that's going to happen after this, and he's going to have some meaningful dialogue about why he censored it. He's going to have to discuss it once they find out they've been duped.
But wait, what's the answer to the question? Should he have not have shown them the film, or should he have just...
I don't believe it's a 0 to none.
I think it's okay that he showed it.
But the way that he showed it, it's going to come back
just
on him.
says he's got to talk about it.
And he's going to have to have some meaningful dialogue around why they were duped.
So, all right, so that's your go-to. So it's funny. I mean, in my case... I don't know. I feel a certain way about content censorship in any sort of way. Like, I feel when someone creates content, that there's a way that they want you to see it and take it in. True. So I'm against this, to be honest. I would say just don't watch the film. I know it's messed up. Your child's going to miss out on stuff, but I'm like, to show that I hate that idea that there was like these scenes that are in this content and now you missed it. And just like you said, you go outside or you look on media, anything, and then they realize, hey, we missed this. That to me is just wrong. I'm against content being like partially censored. I'm kind of like the all or nothing.
Part of me would want to speak to like a child, like who would be like, I'd want to get their gauge on it.
I would think a child would, of course, definitely want to see it.
Some of it or none of it. I feel like they would choose
They'd say some of it, yeah. But I think of it in.
It's like from the creator perspective.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like
you didn't get the content
it's kind of
I
like,
wanted you to get.
Like it's kind of like if we went to see the Mona Lisa in person and the face was missing, we just censored that.
You're wild.
And we said that's the Mona Lisa. No, it's not. What did you do here?
What are you talking about?
That is not. There's no woman on the picture.
But what if you go to the art museum and there's
that's so weird.
I don't know if anyone else on social media has been seeing it, but I've been seeing pictures of statues with long DeLongs, like.
Yeah,
and
like that's fine.
Like, I don't know where in the world these things are happening.
It's like the Venus Hottentot statues.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Or the Venus statues, I guess. I don't know if it's Hottentot statue. Or I forgot the name.
I definitely don't think that's appropriate.
But it's the Venus statue. Oh, you don't think those are appropriate to see?
No,
people made them.
Whatever you just said after that.
Oh, not that, but the Venus statues. No, but that's a person though. I mean, people should look that up.
I just said, y'all. What do you?
I don't know what you just said. I think the hocus pocus is getting to you.
It's getting to me.
It's taking effect now. That's what we see happening.
Days later.
It takes. Oh, that's why it takes days before you see it.
Exactly. It's a nice brew.
But also, I mean, we were thinking about content and media, but so you censor like statues too. I mean, so for me.
But so would you want KJ?
Yes, to see every statue.
To see a giant.
Yeah, because you got to explain that. You could say.
How are you going to explain that?
That's obviously a walrus statue.
That's a man,
No, it's not. It's a walrus
in human form.
Giant No, it's a walrus in human form.
No, it's not.
Because I hate those statues.
So you're gonna lie to him?
instead I'm gonna. I mean, it's kind of like you go to an art museum and he walks.
Say that's a walrus pretending to be a man.
Yes, because that's what it probably is.
Somebody's faces.
It's my belief. I believe this statue transformed into a human, but it was actually a walrus.
It's a walrus presenting as a human with a long schlong.
That's not.
You know what?
That's just how walruses do what they're gonna do. But look. What are you saying? They shouldn't see the art?
No, I'm saying you should take them and you should go see the art, but then be prepared to explain what a long schlong is.
There's no that's just those body parts. You should. There's nothing wrong with that. People can make whatever they want.
They're very exaggerated.
Yeah, but that's fine. You can exagerate anything you want. They could have. What if they have huge brains? That doesn't make them. I mean, you say it's an alien statue too. There's nothing with that. I don't think that's an issue.
Humans actually have big brains. Yeah.
not extraordinarily large, though, is what I'm saying.
You were gross.
No, because, then it's like from Mars Attacks kind of thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, so you want that looking like that? So you don't think that but do you think parents at Censor, like,
art trips?
Yeah, I mean places that have like exposed humans.
But I said exposed humans.
Statues, I guess, or paintings and anything.
I absolutely think the children should see that, but I wouldn't lie to them and say that they're walruses presenting to be people.
I mean, if it is, then you have to though. Like
correct,
if the artist says that's intention.
This is a walrus presenting to be a human. I want to go to an art show and see that language, Khalil.
I could possibly find that.
I bet you can fraudulently find that.
Oh, all right.
But what I'm saying is I would just be prepared to say, how we all have our body parts. This is how the artist wanted to frame and present the body parts. So whether they happen to be a long schlong or giant balls, have fun. Because
I think as long it gets tough.
And then what if the tatas and the bam bam bam?
Well, but then you get it's a little. I guess it's a little dicey because art is art.
Correct.
But once you get into like the pornography side of it,
woo, Jesus,
that's when you gotta say you gotta draw a line somewhere, right?
Well, we're not equating pornography with art, are we?
Some people do. That's all I'm saying. There's a line.
That is a whole other different episode.
But think about it. There is a line between it because people
got to talk about that.
People have different types.
Are you joking with me?
It depends on what type it is.
People would constitute a form of pornography as art.
We went to a museum of sex, right? And that was all about sexual art pieces. And they definitely had pornography in there.
Man.
Not all of it was pornography, but they definitely had some in there.
That is a whole other.
But that's what I'm saying. I guess that's an episode on its own. But that's something to think about.
Talk about that one. That's a different one. Okay.
Scenario 2. Marietta is a hawk when it comes to watching what her children do online. She has all their passwords and social media handles, or so she thinks. Her children are 12, 16, and 17. Do you think she should ease up on her children, putting her faith in them to not watch inappropriate content?
That's an interesting question. So, trust is hard, regardless of the age of the people that you're dealing with. It's hard to trust a 5-year-old. It's hard to trust a 12-year-old. It's hard to trust a 102-year-old. Human beings naturally like to lie, naturally like to be guarded and protect themselves, rightfully so. And so I would say these are critical ages, though, for children. If anyone remembers listening, all our listeners, being 12, 16, 17, these are critical times in your life. And having meaningful dialogue with your parent is really critical around obviously schoolwork and how they're feeling and what they're interested in, but also what they're consuming. And I would say being very helicopter parent style is probably going to be more hurtful and harmful than helpful at these stages in the child's life, because this is where they're naturally more rebellious. This is also a stage where they're trying to figure out who they are in this world and how to orient and how to get on with others, and they're going to want more freedom. So I think it's not a matter of trusting, but it's more a matter of like, let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish. We have to always understand our why and how we act and what we do in this world. And then if you can have them articulate to you the meaning of what they're trying to achieve and how they're trying to go about things, then maybe she can start to maybe uncheck, or I don't know the back end of censorship of how do you release and allow more things for your child. But I think she's going to have to be a little bit more lenient and navigate things with the children.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think she's doing necessarily censorship in this case, but she has access to all their accounts, so she's trying to stop them, I guess, or actually, maybe you can. Oh yeah, I think some of the stuff you can set like parameters if you have access to the account. So yeah, she could be doing censorship here. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's what I thought. That's where my mind went.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't think of it like that.
Especially the 17-year-old, that baby's nearly out the house.
Yeah.
So
the one thing is like that was mentioned here is like she's trying to do this and have access to all their stuff, but does she really know all their
of course not.
Stuff that
children
they use?
Always have that. I forget the name of the accounts, but they have like their profile and then this other profile.
Yeah, then they have their real one, so they don't know what's really going on there if they're talking
Parents
about.
Usually are the last ones to know.
So I think she should definitely ease up because you're creating I don't want to say it's a toxic environment, but you're creating an environment of distrust is what I would like to say. Yeah, and I don't think that's a good place to stand with your children. They should be able to, you should have like some level of, I know you said not to trust them, but it should be at least, I respect you enough to let you do your thing and you respect me enough to, not go beyond what what we decided, what's appropriate or not. So, if you could make kind of like agreements with them, and hope that they live up to it, I think that is helpful. I don't think you should go so hard like this, like a hawk. That's kind of crazy. Don't go so in like that. Okay, because then your kids might get into even worse things. Probably
because they're gonna feel again that it creates a sense of urgency of like I'm being denied, so I'm going to run after all the bad, and it's like wrong. Wrong action.
Scenario 3. Steve thinks that children can watch the same adult content that he watches. Whenever his nieces and nephews come over, he doesn't mind showing them the latest thriller on his favorite streaming platform. Do you think this behavior will harm the minds of the children?
Absolutely. And Steve should be mindful that whatever his beliefs are, that's great for him. However, did he clear that with the parents of these children? So, when you're in a position to care for and mentor and be a leader for children, it's really important not only to think about how the children are what they're receiving from you, but also, are you acting in a way that is conforming with those children's parents' beliefs? And maybe you don't agree with them, but if you are in a position to where they're trusting you with their child, you should ask, is there anything I should be aware of that you don't want your kids to eat, to be exposed to be around? At least get the lay of the land from the parents. And whether you want to adhere to it or not, then I think that should orient whether you spend time with those children or not, because you should respect the parents' wishes. As long as the parents aren't doing anything or asking for anything that's going to put those children in harm, you should adhere to those parents' wishes. So I would say, as much fun as it is to watch adult content, and as much fun as I had as a child watching it, it definitely swayed how I orient and how I view things and how I communicate. And
really, you think it affects your communication?
Oh yeah, I mean my productivity to want to curse more definitely help with content that I watch. I'm very comfortable talking, not very comfortable, but my mind goes to darker places. I think when people say certain words or certain things, because of some of the content that I watched as a child, I watched a lot of adult content starting at the age of 6. I don't think that that's healthy. I don't, I think that that's problematic. I don't think I regret it, but I definitely think it shifted how I orient in the world. So, you should, I don't think it's right. And I think that Steve should apologize both to the children and to those parents and maybe, see what he can do to rectify the bad behavior.
So then what do you think about those uncles that give their
children beer?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So this is illegal behavior. And
so just to clarify, you said illegal.
Illegal behavior. Okay. Children should not be drinking alcoholic beverages. As we know in America, currently you need to be 21 years old or older to consume alcoholic beverages. Mm-hmm. So just in case that wasn't clear for anyone. Okay. So anyone who prescribes to behaving in a way that gives children who are under the age of 21 alcoholic beverages, that is an illegal act. And you might face criminal charges or issues with that behavior. And then also, what type of modeling is that, especially if you're an uncle or an aunt?
You're that crazy uncle, though. That's what you do.
So crazy is not an excuse for illegal behavior.
All right, so that doesn't...
So if you're so crazy, maybe you shouldn't be around children.
Oh, man, it goes to that.
Well, maybe, because if that's your approach to being a good mentor, I think that's a challenged approach.
So that's a good one. I mean, our uncles and aunts, they're trying to be good mentors to the kids around them?
Well, what are they trying to accomplish being around these children?
Just to be a babysitter, live life.
But still be consuming alcohol, smoking, doing...
Oh, no, they're not doing all that stuff. Well, they might be drinking.
I mean, if they're giving the kids drinking, I imagine they have a beer.
They probably do, and they say, "Hey, take a sip of this,"
and
they tell their parent, "Don't tell your parent."
And that's why parents like us are extremely challenged with the idea of having other people near our children.
People do that all the time.
People do that all the time, and that's really challenging.
Don't tell the parent. I mean, and that even happens in schools too. So
absolutely, don't tell mom and dad.
Don't tell that.
There's a lot of people that are encouraging lies and secrets and making children feel unsafe and compromising children in their integrity. The children are the purest humans on earth until adults ruin them and make them perverse. So, he should not do this, and he shouldn't be around the children if he can't prevent himself from doing this. If the parents disagree with this behavior, it's a hard stop. And if the parents are okay with it, then to your earlier point, then we can't be mad if the children have a consequence from consuming the content, and maybe it creates trauma, fear, ... right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is definitely no bueno.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this behavior is wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. He needs to talk with the parents about, what they want for the kids, and that's all it is.
Yep.
He can't even try to convince them of what they should do with the kids. That's their kids.
Yep.
And if he wants to watch them...
You should watch it by yourself in a dark room. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we have.
And I was thinking also, when he wants to see his nieces and nephews, and if he wants them to stay with him, that content, he just can't consume it when they're there.
Yep.
That's just,
and why are we having children come over and we're not stimulating them? Why are we just watching shows? Why are we not going out and going to a park or doing some type of sports event or... Oh,
well, Steve, he works like double shift, so...
So, like I said, maybe Steve's not in a good position to watch children.
Just because he's tired by the time that he watches them. I mean, that was never mentioned there. Now you're making assumptions.
Reading between the lines.
Yeah, you definitely are, because he might just be really into salted caramels or something. We don't know.
You're odd.
I was thinking about the pretzels, but if I was thinking like the chocolate covered ones with like cherry mixed in, I was thinking of that kind of thing, but I don't know what they call those. Or
pumpkin
if that's a
pie's
thing.
On my mind right now. So.
All right. Yeah, see, what if he likes to watch these movies while eating pumpkin pie? There's nothing wrong with that.
He should do that by himself in a room by himself.
Or could he just not watch the movies and then eat the pumpkin pie with the kids?
Some people also have compulsion issues, and they're like, I have to do it. They turn into Gollum. From the Hobbit series, guys, and Lord of the Rings. But.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that could be an issue. He can't watch them.
Listen, I love slasher movies. Every Halloween, for how many years have we been together? 18 years. I mean, pretty much all of those years, right? I think I've watched Halloween every Halloween period. So I will do that. We have a son. He's going to be 16 months in around the Halloween time period, and at the end of the day, I'm going to watch it. If you don't want him in the room, I totally understand. And so if I have to watch him in a room by myself, that's what it has to be. But you can't expose children to things, to your earlier point, and create trauma for them, because maybe that is trauma. I mean, as of right now, I would say KJ has seen horror stuff, and his response has been laughter. So,
yeah, I mean,
but I don't think he's registering.
He's not of the age of, I don't think he's at that age.
3, that might be a different type of conversation. And so I know you're very strict on, I don't want him to be scared or to be traumatized by horror films.
Yeah, I want him to be able to understand that this is just content
fake,
created.
And this is not real. And
this is created content.
And so if that has to be a gradual understanding, and he can't really watch horror films until he's 7 or 8 or 10, again, I'll let you lead that because I didn't have that framework in my childhood, so I don't understand it. And for me, my natural productivity, like, I naturally am like, yeah, let's watch it. But I understand. I'm deeply scared of the dark. I recently was drinking from a water bottle, and it was, you know how your water bottle makes the noise? Yeah. Terrified me. And I was like, now I'm in.
So you made the noise.
Yeah, I jumped.
So you scared yourself, actually.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, I live
like,
in
you caused the fear that. That's a really good one.
Because I watched so much horror content to the point where I find water bottles to be scary sometimes. So
I mean, yeah, that's like
that's
magnificent on
it's a new low for me.
It's only magnificent on 2 levels though. The fact that it was just a water bottle, that's great, and the fact that you squeaked it. Like, you squeezed it to scare yourself. Yeah. That's just excellent. That's excellent.
I know. I had to save it for this moment for you to understand how sad it really was. Though.
That, I mean, it just is unbelievable.
It's sad, really.
Yeah. It's like if you turned in your chair and it squeaks and then you're like, you scream.
Jump out and it's like,
wait, but you caused that.
Are you okay?
You've been in this world long enough to understand how it works. I mean, hopefully. So if you were a child, like, KJ gets scared by certain noises,
of course,
and he still does because he doesn't understand
the world. Yeah,
he doesn't know where it's coming from.
I've been here for quite a long time now.
So that's it's a
sadness. It's really. But again, when you watch Michael Myers at the age of 6, you can't wonder why that's happening. It's because I was traumatized and scared, and I don't know. It's like my version of Stockholm syndrome, I guess, where I crave more of it, even though it scares me to death. It does, but I guess I love to be scared.
I think you burn calories when you're watching the movie, like really scary movies.
Interesting. Well, I need to watch a lot more.
But it's not a lot. It's like out of 2 hours.
5 or something.
Yeah, it's something crazy. But you do actually burn calories when you're scared, like more calories than normal, I guess. But the one thing I just thought of that we can't leave without asking this: what about those parents who do like earmuffs and like blindfold their kids while they consume content? Is that
bird box?
Is that right? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. What do you think about that?
Not, and again, it's going to create that urgency of like, "Mommy, why can't I see?" Right? Like, you're just human nature. We just want what we don't have, and so it would be better, to your point, to consume it separate and apart from the children than to try to get them in there doing it, and then they're just going to want to see.
But if you're watching, so I don't know. I feel like you would have a natural tendency, not an earmuff thing, but so what would happen if we were watching content and some crazy thing was happening? I could see you like trying to cover his eyes. Let's see, which one would you do?
Sexually.
Sexually. I could see you putting your hand over his eyes.
Just because it'd be like, oh no.
Yeah, I could see you trying that though.
But I feel like KJ would slap my hand away and be like, get away.
Yeah, he'd push it and then.
Yeah, look. I know him. He would be like, don't.
I mean, he does that now already because sometimes I try to like not let him see something and he'll look around it and move my hand out the way.
Yeah, he's too smart, and that's
would you like show him not to.
Well, first of all, these COVID babies come out different, and then secondly, when you're raising an intelligent child, the same parameters don't apply. Like, these children are like, if I get, same thing when I want to discipline him and I'm, hey, get it together. And he's like, hey, get it together. Like, and he's 15 months old. Like, we have our work cut out. So that's where we're at with that. But any other lasting thoughts, or you're good?
Well, lasting thoughts is parents, make sure you censor your kids.
You said that so creepily.
Yeah.
Censor your.
And then I had to say the classic phrase, think of the children.
And then
there's another phrase, but I don't think it's classic, but it's a really funny one. I mean, I don't, it's hard to describe.
We'd have to show the tweet, so we'll share
the
Okay. Sounds good. So we are at that time again. It's coming to the end of our 267th episode of WokeNFree. You're weird.
That was a censored version.
Asking the question, should parents censor the content their kids consume? So, Khalil, what should folks do now?
Come back next week for the new WokeNFree Wednesday episode. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you'd like to be a guest on the show or submit a topic for us to discuss, then definitely hit us up for our 2023 programming on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That's WokenFree.com. For social, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn at WokeNFree. And then for all sponsorship or collaboration ideas and contacts, hit us up on our contact us page at WokeNFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokeNFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokeNFree is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Till next time.
That's not scary at all.